Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking a look at the Tier 8 French battleship, the Richelieu. And I've been looking forward to this ship for some time, been really trying to push my way up through the French battleship line, and actually I've done a really quick job with this. I'm actually very surprised how quickly I'm able to get up to the Tier 8. Kind of helps that it's the only line I'm currently grinding on. We are playing on Islands of Ice. We have a Montana, Yamato, Missouri, Richelieu, Bismarck, Henry IV, Hindenburg, hakaymgaming, Goering, Habelosh, and Loyang. I am joined with Opuk and the Loyang. On the enemy team, there's two Yamatos, Iowa, North Carolina, Tirpitz, Des Moines, Hindenburg, Donskoy, Edinburgh, Shimakaze, Grossovoy, and a Nogdevoy. So, unfortunately for us, we are going to be in a Tier 10 match, which isn't the greatest thing to say, especially when you're considering dealing with a stock Richelieu. And I will have to say, this ship has kind of been a slight disappointment for me. I'm not saying it's a bad ship. I think it really comes down to the fact of its dispersion on the guns. Really become problematic for me. Sometimes they just kind of go every which way, and that's why I would recommend don't go for a secondary build with this ship, because you will be almost sorely disappointed. I'm not saying it's not completely viable, but with the gun dispersion, it just goes every which way. Now, one nice thing about this ship is the fact she's actually quick. Look how quick we're going, 31.8 knots. Almost 32 knots right now, and this with the speed flag and everything. So she's quick, and this is not upgraded. No upgrades are applicable to the ship at the moment. So this is stock. This is completely stock. And one other very nice thing, as you can see, we have a 23 kilometer range. 23 kilometers at Tier 8. Tier 8 has 23 kilometers. Sorry, I know I've already iterated that fact, but it's just mind-boggling, and it's nice. I mean, honestly, I would say it's not really worth getting the upgrade to the range module. Not really. Yeah, you could have that additional range, but honestly, it's not the greatest thing in the world. Now, she does have a spottercraft. She does also have engine boost, so you can definitely go a little bit faster. You can get up around, I believe, 33, 34 knots, something like that. But I will have to say, there's there's a few things that I don't really much care about. I've already mentioned about the dispersion on the guns. They can be quite problematic, especially if you go for a secondary build. Secondaries are alright. You can get the secondary built out to 10 kilometers, so decent range. But for the most really obvious fact is the majority of her secondary guns are in the rear. She does have on the stock 5 152 millimeter triple barrel turrets. They have very slow load time unless you get BFT. So, for the most part, you're not going to be able to get your secondaries actually applicable, because one thing that this Richelieu, and it's kind of very similar to how the North Carolina plays and the Iowa, is almost the best way to operate the ship is, yes, you can be a runner and be constantly moving around. Another option is turning in and being a tank, being a fortress, sitting kind of bow in, ricocheting most shells, which I am going to do. And, well, one downside of this, and this should have been actually kind of obvious, is the fact her guns. And this was obvious in the Lyon. The Lyon had this issue. Her guns are actually semi easy to incapacitate, and it's actually quite annoying, because if you lose a gun, you lose half your firepower. So do keep that in mind. Don't want to lose your guns. So that's why I would recommend go for the weapons modification. Now, unfortunately, I have planted myself near a destroyer, but fortunately, we're able to at least dodge one velocity from enemy destroyer. But, well, as you can see, there's also a Shimikaze right there, and I don't... let's see. Looks like those probably were Shimikaze torps. And another spread is coming out. And we are in a bit of a predicament. Actually, I believe those were Turpit's torps. Yes, I'm not in a very good position. Major threat to the fact that we have a lot of destroyers near us, and we are currently being focused on. But fortunately, we do fall silent. The Honnery does take out the enemy Turpits, but our team, well, our team is kind of going down fairly swiftly, and unfortunately for me, I'm going to eat a torpedo, and my damage control is off for another 35 seconds. Now, the fires are still raging, and I'm flooding, and things aren't looking very good. Now, the Yamato does push forward. Maybe not the best idea, to be perfectly honest, because, well, now he's going to become the attention, and I mean, granted, our team does have 2 caps, the enemy team only has 1, but the enemy Yamatos actually do a really good job in this battle. Now, still flooding. I have 7 seconds left on my damage control. Will this be the end of this battle? Nope. With 154 points of health, I'm still alive. Anyone that looked at me in the wrong direction, in the wrong way, could kill me. That Edinburgh could kill me. And I still have 20 seconds on a heal. Anyone could kill me. A destroyer could kill me. Yeah, I guess you guys can kind of see the point. Somehow, and I don't really know how, I get out of this. That Edinburgh actually started aiming at me. That's actually rather amusing. I'm able to get out of cover, or get out of the detect, get a heal on, and start recovering my health. Now, this obviously is going to be a serious hamper on my ability to push out. However, good thing about the Richelieu is the fact that her main guns are in the front, and I don't really have to show a lot of broadside, but we kind of steal this kill. Now, speaking of her guns are, as I did mention, they do have kind of a wide dispersion. Not as bad as the Dunkirk, that much is true. And her AP is actually really decent. They are 380 millimeters, the same size as the Tirpitz and Bismarck. But for whatever fact, you will almost always, not always, I guess that's technically not the proper way to say it. For the most part, you will have most of your salvo getting over penetrations on cruisers. I've seen it time and time again. Yes, you can get citadels. I'm not saying it's impossible. But these shells hit pretty hard. That the fact that they are also very fast, 840 meters per second, that they generally will overpen a lot of cruisers. Yes, if you get into the citadel, especially if you get right below that water line, you will have a citadel and you will do pretty good damage. But as far as I've seen, especially as far as playing this ship, I've been playing the ship a lot recently just due to the fact that I am currently grinding it. You just generally tend to have a lot of overpenetration. So that's one thing I will have to say about the guns. Now, we did switch over to HE on this Yamato, because for the most part, bow on, which he was, I'm not going to be able to actually penetrate through his bow armor, so I do switch over to HE. Now, let's actually talk about what's happening in the battle. Our team is ahead in points. We are ahead in caps. Our team is semi-struggling. We're just now catching back up on the number of ships that were sunk. currently trying to focus down this Yamato. Now, fortunately for myself, our destroyers laid a huge level of smokescreen in the B cap that I'm actually able to invisify without obviously being detected, hence invisify. And now, unfortunately for us, some of our teammates are not in a really good position. For the fact that most of our teammates that went over to C essentially lost that confrontation and are now being forced back, and they have actually taken a lot of damage. Now, this Hipper obviously is in a very, very serious predicament at the moment. He is currently essentially facing off against almost 3 battleships, even 4. So things aren't looking very good for us, especially for the Hipper, because most of those enemy battleships are actually decently health. The enemy Iowa, North Carolina, and the other enemy Yamato have taken no damage. Or sorry, better yet, the enemy Yamato has not taken any damage. The other 2 have taken just very minimal. So they're doing pretty well. The only good thing for us is the fact that we still have Allpuck alive. And Allpuck's doing his very best to drop torpedoes, to get hits. And yes, I am taking my time because I am a tier 8. And a Yamato will probably easily pin my armor. And nice thing about the Richelieu is the fact that, well, she has all her guns in the forward position. Now, you could argue why I'm not pushing. It's not overly necessary for me to push. It really is not. And actually, that Hipper just killed that Yamato with his torps. That's actually rather amusing. So it's not overly necessary, but at the exact same time, I was incredibly low in health, and I'm just now getting back to full decent health. We still have 1 more charge, so we're able to get most of our health back, which is going to prove extremely beneficial. And at this position, most of the friendly teams are going to get upset at this fact. Now, at the moment, we are losing. I mean, we only have 4 ships to their 6. We have the Hindenburg and the Henri, and obviously Allpuck. Now, Allpuck is in a slight bit of danger. There is a enemy Donskoy who is very near to him and could easily radar him. Now, I do see the Ognavoy, and I don't think it's really worth the chance to actually open up on that Ognavoy because the Hindenburg does take him out. Now, it was firing HE, and I don't really recall. I think the North Carolina was actually starting to come bow into us. That's why I switched over to HE. I do switch over to AP, and against a broadside North Carolina, you can actually do pretty good amount of damage. Let's see, just gotta line it up, and the hang time on the shells is not too bad. You don't have to provide too much lead. Do get a citadel, do cause him a serious amount of damage, but he is still burning, and we're definitely racking up our damage. Now, unfortunately for Allpuck, he does unfortunately beach himself, which is highly unfortunate because the Donskoy is unfortunately right behind him with also a Hindenburg, so things aren't looking very good for Allpuck here in a moment. Continuing to fire on the North Carolina, and yes, I guess you could say I probably should be doing, but at the moment I am constantly firing, I am causing damage, and I'm not being killed. That is a good thing because at the moment we are ahead in points. We still have 4 ships. We are currently confronting, and now we have just unfortunately lost Allpuck in the Loyang, but we are starting to lose B. Do finally get the kill on the North Carolina. That is a citadel. Very, very nice. And probably is going to be a good time to get moving, because unfortunately for myself, the Donskoy has actually come north of north that he is starting to actually be able to open up. So we're actually going to try to get out of here as quick as possible. Now, fortunately for us, North Carolina does decide to start pushing south. Obviously, the Hindenburg and the Henri have been firing. And yes, the friendly teams are slightly annoyed at the fact of my positioning. But once again, I will have to say, and the fact that I was very low in health, just getting healed up was very much needed. But at the exact same time, it's not like I was hiding in the rear. So I don't know. You guys can argue on that. I thought I was in the right, and I am trying to help out as much as possible. All right, engine boost is now available, which is going to be extremely beneficial. But that is a Iowa, not very far away from us. Secondaries are starting to open up, and you kind of can see what I was talking about. 2 over penetrations on that Hindenburg. Granted, yes, it was closer to the bow. So I just feel like the AP is just not that viable. But I really got to be careful about this Iowa, because he is right there, and we are showing a lot of broadside. Now the citadel on the Richelieu is covered by turtleback armor, but even an Iowa at this range could do serious amount of damage. And yep, unfortunately does damage our gun, and that's, once again, that's something that you kind of see with the fact of the Richelieu, is the fact that she does get her gun damaged quite a bit. Fortunately for us, the Iowa is showing us a lot of broadside. Now, unfortunately for our team, we have lost one of our cruisers, and we are 4 versus 2, now 4 versus 3, but the Iowa decides to show us a lot of broadside and is citadeled, and now it is probably going to be a good idea to run away. Now, unfortunately for us, we do have a Donskoy west of us, and right now I am trying to get behind this island, but I don't think we are going to be able to get away, because unfortunately this fire is going to kill us, and we are safely behind the island, but we just don't have enough health. We are going to burn to death, which is not good. Not good at all, because that does leave the Henri by himself. And yep, unfortunately Iowa actually gets the fire. That was lucky. So Henri is by himself against 2 ships. There is a Yamato and a Donskoy. Now, fortunately for us, the Donskoy didn't really rush in, which I'm actually kind of interested as why he did not. He could have easily double teamed me with the Iowa's help. So not exactly certain why, but fortunately for us, this Henri is going to be able to get into sea, and hopefully start capping. He is obviously a French cruiser, so he is very, very quick. So capping shouldn't be that big of a problem. Now, for the fact that we did have B and C for such a long, or sorry, A and B for such a long time, we did accrue enough points to actually keep us well enough ahead, even though we have lost the majority of our team. And at the moment, all the Henri has to do is start capturing C. That will reduce the amount of points that the enemy teams will be getting in. And there's only about 1 minute and 25 seconds left on the clock. So we are hopefully going to actually win this, as long as the Henry IV does not do something silly or incredibly stupid. And for whatever reason, I don't exactly know why he does this, but he kind of starts pushing north. And honestly, if I was that Henri, I would be swinging my ship to the south, getting distance between myself and the Yamato, because the Yamato is still around somewhere. Don't know, actually. He probably continued heading east, because that's where this Henri was last located. But with the Henri currently capturing C, and the enemy team just now finished capturing A, there is not enough time for that enemy team to actually accrue enough points to get a victory out of this. And we are actually able to pull a victory from this near defeat. Enemy team did a really good job pushing. They didn't do such a good job as far as capturing, which is more of the main objective. But with us at least holding them off until the time counts down, we are actually able to pull a victory from this. So, not a bad game, not a bad damage. So our team earned a victory. We brought home 323,915 silver, 3,267 XP. We did 123,275 points of damage, 57 shell hits, 3 kills, 2 fires, 3 citadels, 11 defended base capture, and 12 secondary hits. We were third on the team with a base XP of 2016. So we definitely did help carry that game because honestly we were very much close to losing this. Unfortunately, myself losing that huge chunk of health early game really did cost any ability that I could have possibly utilized against the enemy team. But once again, I think in the position that I was still able to constantly provide fire without taking a lot of damage. Yes, I know I was a battleship, but I was healing, so there's my defense on that. Damage wise, North Carolina 41,000, Iowa 23,000, Gross Savoy 1,000. Yeah, we kind of sniped that kill, but he kind of deserved it. Yamato, we did around 20,000, Tirpitz 11,000, and the Hindenburg around 9,000. AP shells did around 85,944. High explosive did around 15,928. Yes, I know I'm not a big fan of using high explosive, but once again, if a battleship does show you a lot of broadside, you do want to use a ammo type that would still cause damage, and high explosives is a good option to go with. The only downside is your reload time is very long, so yeah, battleship could easily outmaneuver you with the fact of you firing high explosive at him. So secondary guns did 1,786. Fires actually did almost 20,000 points of damage, which is not bad. Unfortunately, I wasn't really able to show off a lot about the AA guns. Would have liked to, but stock, it is not the greatest as far as the AA guns are concerned. It's once you get the upgraded that you actually have fantastic AA. But anyways, we're actually going to go ahead and jump into port. I will see you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome back to the port, and the Richelieu is, well, it's not a bad ship. It's definitely a different feeling from what the Lyon was. Basically, best way to compare is if you own the Dunkirk, you pretty much understand how the Richelieu kind of plays. Though she is definitely better as far as her armor scheme is, as well as her guns and her secondary guns. So overall, definitely a little bit better than what the Dunkirk does offer. But she still has her issues, and we'll actually talk about it here now. Moving on to survivability, 54,500 for stock, which is not bad. The Amagi, I'm actually kind of curious how much the Amagi is. Definitely a little bit less, about 5,000 less than the Amagi is at stock. Armor scheme, you have 18 to 430 millimeters. One major downside of the Richelieu is her citadel does sit kind of high. She does have a turtleback armor, which does definitely help her from being easily citadeled, especially by cruisers. You do have 330 millimeters of angled turtleback armor, so that is extremely beneficial, but at range you still can be citadeled, and for the most part you won't be really sitting broadside a lot of time. You will have yourself almost constantly bow in, so I mean that is definitely a good thing. Now, one major thing I've noticed with the Richelieu is her guns tend to be knocked out quite frequently, and I would highly recommend it. If you are dealing with a bow in Richelieu, aim at the guns. If you're firing armor piercings, aim at the guns. You will more than likely knock them out. I have had my guns become incapacitated as well as destroyed, which is quite devastating for the Richelieu, because if you lose one gun, you lose half your firepower, which is quite devastating. So do keep that in mind whenever you are dealing with a Richelieu. Torpedo protection is 37%, which is not bad. Main guns, you have two quad 380 millimeters. These are the same caliber as the Tirpitz and Bismarck. Let's actually quickly show off that the Tirpitz and Bismarck do have 380 millimeters. So you do have the same caliber, which is not bad. Now, one major thing is, as I have obviously noticed multiple times, is that these shells are very hard hitting and very fast, and that is not very good against cruisers because you'll get overpens because they'll go right through the armor and out the other side, causing very minimal damage. And it's quite aggravating when you have a broadside, say example Zhao. I've had a broadside Zhao and just get overpens on a broadside Zhao. So you might have to aim a little bit lower, especially into the water, to get those citadels. So turn time on the guns with the special captain is 30 seconds. Max HE damage is 5400, 36% fire chance, which is alright. AP damage is 11,900. One really crazy thing about the Richelieu is her range, 23 kilometers stock. No additional upgrade to the range. 23 kilometers, which is absolutely insane for a tier 8. I believe the North Carolina can get up to, I think, around 19, 20 kilometers. It's been a long time since I ran the North Carolina. Amagi can get up to 19.9, so almost 20 kilometers. Richelieu has absurd range for her tier, but one major thing is her dispersion is quite big. I will have to say, you will probably having those nice perfect tight shots that you sometimes see, but for the most part they're going to be going either short or long of where you're aiming at, and it can be extremely aggravating, especially if you go for a secondary build. You're probably not going to hit anything with your main guns. Talking about secondaries, she does have a decent amount of secondaries. You have 5 triple 152 millimeters on stock. Now, once fully upgraded, this will also change. You will get some new secondaries, but starting off, this is all you have. And I would not highly recommend going for a secondary build on the Richelieu. Now, granted, these guns are essentially like cruiser guns, 152 millimeters. So they can hit pretty hard. 12-second reload time is slow. That is another major downside to this. They do have a max HE damage of 2,200 with a 12% fire chance and a absurd 8.8 kilometer range. If you do a full secondary build, you can get your secondaries out to 10.1 kilometers, which is nice. It is kind of nice, because the Bismarck and Tirpitz can get a little bit further. I believe the Tirpitz can get out to around 11 kilometers, almost the same as the Kurfürst. So secondary gun range is nice as far as the range, but you don't have a lot of secondaries, and for the most part you have to show definitely a lot more broadside than you probably would be showing anyway, just to get those back turrets. Now, granted, when you are in retreat, they're going to be shooting off, which is beneficial, but I would not recommend going for a secondary build. AA defense is actually not bad. It's not the greatest. It does improve dramatically once you go for the hull upgrade. You have 8 quadruple 13.2 millimeters. Average damage is 44 with a 1.4 kilometer range. Then you have 6 dual 37 millimeters. Average damage is 80 with a 4.2 kilometer range. And then your secondary guns average damage is 46 with a 6 kilometer range. Alright, AA, not the greatest, but you can shoot down some planes while it is in stock. Moving on to maneuverability. She's quick. She is actually very quick. 31.9 knots. I do have the speed flag. This is not completed. This is still stock. So she's a quick battleship. So you can definitely get around the map. She's a great flanker. You can reposition quite dramatically, quite quickly, and hopefully surprise your enemies when doing so. Turning circle radius is 850 meters, which is very similar to the Amagi. The Amagi has 870. So I would have to say she's kind of like the Amagi, where you're able to kind of move around the map a little bit quicker. But however, the Amagi's more of a almost constantly moving battleship, while the Richelieu can do that. But for the most part, you're going to be sitting almost bow in most of the time. So you can always do that. But anyways, rudder shift time is 21.5 seconds. Very sluggish. Once again, once you get the upgrade to the hull, you'll definitely be a little bit more nimble. Concealment is 12.6 kilometers. Amagi is actually worse than that at 13 kilometers. So she's a little bit more stealthy, which is beneficial. Not the stealthiest tier 8 battleship, but pretty decent. Detectability range by air is 10.7, while in smoke is 15.4. So you do have quite a dramatic concealment nerf while firing in smoke. So do keep that in mind whenever going with that. Now, one nice thing about the Richelieu, she does have on the stock a spotting craft. This does increase your range. Honestly, I would not really call it necessary. You can also get the catapult fighter. The major difference is the fact that the catapult fighter doesn't last as long as the spotting aircraft, about 10-second difference. But one major thing, as you guys are probably all aware, is that the Richelieu for the French battle line, starting here to tier 10, gets the consumable of the engine boost. This gives you 8% increase to your speed. It is active for 180 seconds. It takes 114 seconds to reload, and you have 4 of them. Actually, kind of not a bad consumable. Not the greatest in the world, but if you're needing that little bit of speed, especially when dealing with torpedoes, this is actually really super nice. You can be going off one speed and then suddenly change, and more than likely you'll be able to dodge incoming torpedoes with little difficulty. Moving on to the upgrades. First off, I would honestly say go for main armaments mod 1 to reduce the incapacitation of your main guns, because once again, that is a great tactic for anyone shooting at a Richelieu, is to aim for the guns. Then damage comm mod 1, aiming system mod 1. Once again, you can go for a secondary battery modification 2. Honestly, not worth it at the tier 8, possibly at the tier 9 at the Alsace, but not really worth it at the Richelieu. Damage comm system mod 2 is the 4th upgrade, and then last but not least, concealment expert modification 1. Moving on to captain. Not a lot has changed. I have gone AFT. This is extremely beneficial because once you get the Richelieu upgraded, she's actually a monster with a huge array of anti-aircraft weapon systems. So getting this to increase your both your air AA bubble as well as your secondaries is beneficial. Highly recommend getting this skill for your captain, even if you are not going for a secondary build. Priority target, honestly, you probably could go for preventive maintenance if you're going for a secondary build. Then expert marksman, superintendent, concealment expert, and depending on what I'm planning on doing with the Alsace and the Republique, will depend on the captain skills, but at least this is what I would recommend if you're at least at a 16-point captain, as such I am. So yeah, not a bad array of skills, but this will probably change once we get up to the tier 10. Anyways, this is going to be it for this episode of World of Warships. Thank you guys so much for joining in. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. VIII.